Good evening, infidels. What's happening,
Indeed.
everybody? Hey, what's the name of that channel you were just playing? The guy's channel.
Oh, wi- if if your broad's got to go to the bathroom, go in front of her and take a 45-minute dump. Be a man.
I just asked what name the channel was, not for you to impersonate it and make me crack up, you asshat.
I think it's just called Be a Man.
If you're gonna take a broad on a date, ask her if she's hungry. If she says yes, have her eat before you go out. Be a man.
Be a man.
It's in that like northeastern freaking accent. Oh my god, it's so good.
Oh man, freaking! It's like a bunch of guys from Boston are like just killing it right now on the socials.
That and nobody cares, Anthony. Can we go through some of these horrible signs people send me, please? So good. Sorry for that sidebar, everybody. Welcome back. Yeah, be a man. Welcome back to the Battle Bros podcast with Mac and Alamo. I am Mac. My partner crime over here to my side. This is Alamo. How the hell are you, everybody? Welcome to the show, or welcome back if you've been here before. If you haven't been here, we're just two guys. We're just two guys that know each other since high school. They both joined the army during GWAT. Different perspective, different experiences from when we went in and whatnot. But we get on here, we talk about stuff that's important to the veteran community, and trying to
And
pay
sometimes we lose it
tribute.
just a little bit.
And we do get and start cracking up at our own stuff. But we're trying to pay honor and tribute to a guy that we know who unfortunately solved a temporary problem with a permanent solution by the name of John Rowan. He was a dude that we used to work with, and we try to honor him and his memory every time we do a podcast. So, not to get too serious or somber, first thing in the show, but this is what we do. This is why we do it, all that good stuff. And I'll explain it, and you'll see that that's actually kind of a good lean in. Withers, War Daddy Withers in the chat. Um, Yeah, so you'll see why I kind of did that in the intro there in just a minute. But anyway, yeah, hopefully you can kick back, watch, or listen to the show and enjoy it. And yeah, we're gonna get right into it. So, if you caught our show last week, we did a fun one last week. Not that they're all boring, but they're all fun. But last week we talked about the history and lineage of challenge coins, and that actually comes from a couple of different places, depending on the service branch. Um, they're all various and they're all different in their own respects and whatnot. We talked about funny stories of challenge coins. We showed some of the ones that we had as collectors, and it's kind of like one of those things you just end up acquiring if you've been in the military long enough. You get some really each of them's got a story. Alamo and I both have one from when a guy who went to our high school was killed in action back in 2010 in August. A guy by the name of Paul Kazupi. We both have one that we were given by somebody that attended the funeral there with us. Was handing them out to all the service members there, which was pretty cool. But yeah, had some funny ones too, and it's kind of the interesting stories behind them. It's just like some of you look at it and you're like, what? Like, seriously? So, but yeah, it was a pretty fun one. I like doing that one. We're gonna add that to our repertoire of episode types. We're gonna have the VIP episodes and also the historical type stuff, just to give it a break every once in a while. We don't want to talk about the really heavy stuff. If we do that all the time, we'd probably get burnt out and stuff. So we want to keep
Plus,
things
I think
fresh
the
and
historical
lively.
stuff just kind of adds a little bit of spice to it, and it kind of gives you a chance to kind of reflect and kind of like, especially like when we start diving into stories about like figures or just units and stuff like that, which you know is possibly coming soon. Um, it kind of gives us a window
Hint,
into
hint,
what they
wink,
went through.
wink.
hmm
Right.
a kind of what they went through and how things were for them, which is really freaking insightful and cool.
Oh yeah, it's kind of like the story of like I forget what the name of the movie was, but the guy that played Spider-Man, Andrew Garfield, played that
hmm
guy Desmond Doss, the conscientious objector ended up being awarded the Medal of Honor for saving all those dudes and never touched a rifle. What that
Yeah.
or not. I forget what the name I haven't seen that movie, but I hear
That was
it
a
was
great movie. It's just called
it-
Hacksaw Ridge.
That's it. Thank you. Hacksaw Ridge. I need to watch that, man. It looks pretty good.
It's a great movie.
So like we were saying, we want to talk about stuff. Keep it live. Keep it, give a little bit of variety to, to the flavor of what we talk about and what we do every week. So, but yeah, last week was a fun one. We talked about challenge coins. So yeah, pretty cool. So this week we are going to get, kind of back to our bailiwick and back to our bread and butter. Bread and butter. We are going to be talking about another discussion, topic-based discussion. So we are discussing this week the topic of drumroll, rim shot, intent.
Indeed.
Intent. What is intent? Why is it important to us? So this is episode 076, entitled Intent of the Battle Bros
Intent.
Podcast. Excellent movie. Yeah. Whoa. Look at that picture of Withers when he was in the Navy. He's wearing old Navy dungarees. Hell yeah. I like that picture there, War Daddy Withers.
Yeah, I know.
That's good stuff. He's probably beating them hoes off left and right. Anyway, so intent. So what do we define intent as? What is the definition of intent? Well, hold on to your butt, lily white butts. I'll tell you. Intent is defined as the desire or motivation behind an action or what we hope to achieve by acting in a certain way. Okay. So I was actually kind of talking about this the other day with my daughter. She's going to be, she's going to be 10 in less than 2 weeks. Freaking out. Holy shit. Yeah.
They're getting
crazy.
up there, dude. Soon we're going to be looking at teenagers.
Oh, joke. So we were, and I kind of just quiz her just on certain things, just kind of engage, where she's at. I said, so what do we use a blinker for? She's like, well, that way which you can tell other people where you're going to go. I was like, that's exactly right. You're letting other drivers know your intent. I'm going to turn left here. I'm going to turn this way, which was so funny when they used blinkers in Afghanistan. We were around this car and he turned on his left blinker. I'm like, it's a 2-lane road out in the middle of the friggin' desert. Where the hell is he going? He was telling us that his intent was to have us go around him. I'm like, that's not how it works there, dude. Like, duh. Like, shit.
It's like the Geico commercial. That's not how that works. That's not how any of this works.
Yes. Yes. It took me a second to remember those. Like, yes. Oh my God. Those are so good. That's a good one.
Back when the Geico commercials actually were worth a damn.
Well, so my brother works for Geico and he explained it. He goes, they have nothing to do with our company. It's just something that they use they're very, and to be 100% transparent, I agree with him in the fact that he says, all it is just a way to remember our company because it's something kind of goofy and irreverent. And I'm like, I agree because you talk about them. I mean, the Geico Gecko was kind of funny. That one, that's I mean, especially like pop culture type references. That's right up there. Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's not how this works. Not any of this works. Absolutely. So back to like we were saying, we're talking about intent. So the reason that might sound familiar is like if you've ever gone through any type of training or whatnot, you might hear the phrase commander's intent. So that is defined as the following. This is directly from FM 3-0. This is the Army Operations Manual. This is defined as, quote, a clear, concise statement of what the force must do and the conditions the force must establish with respect to the enemy, terrain, and civil considerations that represent the desired end state. Okay, so a lot of times when you're going through a training iteration, you're in the training box, you're in the hot box as they call it, or the hot box. I've heard it referred to both. They will give you what the conditions are by saying the commander's intent and kind of give you the task conditions. They give you a full, operations order, sergeant, situation, mission, execution, Serves and support command signal. Sergeant Major eats sugar cookies, if you remember all that kind of crazy stuff. So yeah, so and something else I was looking at this last week. There's a lot of people I feel in this day and age, and I'm not really picking on one age demographic. I'm not trying to call plight or blunder to them, or just to kind of shine a negative light on them. It's kind of the world we live in nowadays. It's like people don't really have a lot of intent anymore. So I was like,
No.
what the hell? Let's talk about it on a podcast. We've got a platform to discuss this shit. Let's talk about it. So,
Yeah.
and how many people? I mean, in just to kind of go off topic here go off the script here for a second, Alamo. It's like we pretty much knew when we got out of high school what our personal individual intent was, especially with
Yes.
myself because I was a senior when 9/11 happened. So it's like I'm getting out of the military and like I'm gonna go up and do my part and sign up and go fight so that I'm young, I'm able-bodied, I'm a younger man. It's my turn. It's my generation. I need to pick up the baton that's been handed to me by all these older warriors and go, hey, here you go. We got the watch and run with it. So
Yeah. That was my same mindset too, man. Like honestly, because I
yeah,
mean, granted, I wasn't a
obviously yours
senior
was
when it happened,
right. Yours was a little bit
but
delayed just because you were just starting high school and stuff. But I'm pretty sure,
right.
going through high school, you were kind of like, I'm gonna, because I remember, dude. Not
I was
saying you're not
antsy.
now, but like when you were in high school, dude, you were a fucking stud. Like you were like chiseled out of granite and stuff. I'm like, what the hell is this crap? I'm like, Jesus, man.
I
So
tried, man. I tried.
you did good there, bro. You did good. But yeah, so and it's just like the day and age we live in nowadays. It's like we just don't see a lot of like people. They just kind of don't have the same intent that we did. And obviously, yes, you could argue it's a generational difference. Yes, it's 20 years since we got out of high school. The GWAT generation is kind of over and done
Good
with because we're
God.
no longer in GWAT.
20 years.
IF is done. OEF is done. I don't even think. Hold on, let me look that up. I don't even know if they're still issuing the service medal anymore. It's like that's
You
like
talking about our GWAT?
yeah, the GWAT service medal.
I don't think they are either. I think it's officially like done. Like it's reserved for guys that already served and went over there.
Yeah, so I'm looking here. September of 2022. Effective September 11th, 2022, the service medal is not awarded to service members only serving in the area of effect for approved campaigns related to the war. So it's now only awarded. Okay, only serving in areas. Okay, so you don't just get it for going on active duty. Like, right after I remember guys coming out of, active duty or coming out of basic and stuff in like 2005. They
Yeah.
had like, national defense, Army service ribbon, and then the GWAT already. And that's probably the wrong order. I'm sorry, but
God,
still,
War Daddy.
it's just
You already had that many years in?
I believe that.
Damn.
So, but yeah, so and it just I can't help but notice like going out in public, I'll be with my daughter, or I'm going to do something like I'm going to the store or this and the other. It's like I don't want to sound like the old timer here, but I'm just like I look at the younger generation and I'm just like I'm not mad, I'm not upset, I'm just a little
Yeah.
disappointed. It's just like come on, guys, like no
Like
wonder
Bam
to have such
Margera, like Bam Margera's dad. he, he had to go there.
You're not. Listen, War Daddy, you're not the O word. You're not old. You're well weathered and well worn in.
You're aged like fine wine, sir.
Whereas I'm aging like milk. It's like God, it's terrible. Anyway, so we have a couple of articles we're gonna read for you. So this first article we actually just found a little while ago. This is called The Power of Intent. This is from February 18th of 2013. It's an article that was posted to the Harvard Business Review. And we're going to just read through this real quick, and we're going to read another one, and then kind of continue the conversation. So, The Power of Intent. A fellow business leader complained the other day that although he had repeatedly sought feedback.
Comments.
What's up? I gave you a compliment, man. Come on, why are you telling me to push? Damn, dude. God, next time I see him in public, he's just going to be like, hey, man, hugs for later, push-ups first. Like, anyway. I'm just going to read the article. I'll start at that again. A fellow business leader complained the other day that although he had repeatedly sought feedback, oh crap, I clicked it off, damn it. His team had never told him what they really thought about his management style. We've been friends for a long time, so I asked, do you want feedback so you can do something with it, or are you asking only because you think that's the right thing to do? The problem, I told him, is that people can perceive your intentions right away. It has nothing to do with what you say or do. There was a long pause, and then he admitted, quote, deep inside, I'm probably not ready to hear critical feedback or do anything about it. My plate is full, and my team knows that. It's critical to know your intent as a leader and to communicate it clearly. Abso-freaking-lutely. That's not in the article, obviously. Let me recount an amazing ritual around intentions that a friend recently described. Apparently, in some parts of Africa, when a mother conceives, she writes a song for her child and sings it to the baby in her womb all through the pregnancy. When the child is born, the village comes together to sing the same song for the child. Anytime the baby cries, the mother sings that song to comfort him or her. When the child grows a little older and the mother has to return to work in the fields, she has to leave the infant behind at home. Even though she may be out of earshot, whenever the mother feels her baby is crying or missing her, she sings that song to soothe the child. Incredible though it may seem, the child seems to sense her intent and stops crying. That's the power of intent. A 2007 book, The Intention Experiment, explored the science of intention, drawing on the findings of leading scientists around the world. Author Lynn McTaggart uses cutting-edge research conducted at Princeton, MIT, Stanford, and other universities and laboratories to reveal that intent is capable of profoundly affecting all aspects of our lives. In the book, William A. Tiller, a professor emeritus at Stanford University, argues, quote, for the last 400 years, an unstated assumption of science is that human intention cannot affect what we call physical reality. Our experimental research of the past decade shows that for today's world and under the right conditions, this assumption is no longer correct. End quote. Understanding and communicating intent is rarely given much importance in business, though. Goals and visions are shared as carefully curated documents and through great speeches created by well-oiled communication machines. CEOs forgot that if the intent of these plans isn't aligned with the communication, people may be impressed, but deep down inside, they will not believe in those plans or act on them. There's little doubt that clarity of intent sheds light on the path ahead, even if it isn't clearly visible. In such scenarios, the, quote, I don't have the right answers for you, but let's march ahead and discover how we can get to our goals faster, end quote, articulation is more powerful than rhetoric. Articulated well, it can help draw the necessary responses from people and catalyze growth. Had to wet the whistle there.
What that was.
It is equally important to understand that the intent of competitors, an aspect often overlooked in traditional competitor analysis. 2 decades ago, the late C.F. Prahalad and Gary Hamel referred to that in an award-winning HBR article, Strategic Intent. Highlighting the journeys of Canon and Honda to dominance in the mid-1980s, they pointed out, oh, that's actually true, yeah. Those are 2 big companies that were big in the 80s. Absolutely. I completely forgot about Canon. Honda, yes, but I forgot about Canon. They pointed out that it was intent that made the difference, not resources. Yes, Canon they still make cameras to this day. Very good cameras, too.
Mm-hmm.
Until 1970, both were relatively small companies, and since traditional competitor analysis is like shooting a snapshot of a moving car without a clue about the driver's intent, Nobody viewed them as threats. As Hamel, I guess it's Hamel and Pralad, or whatever. As they point out, a snapshot by itself yields little information about whether the driver is out for a quiet Sunday drive or warming up for the Grand Prix. What?
Where Daddy says, "Where I work, they are non-confrontational. No intent other than like me."
I think War Daddy might scare people in a good way. Like,
You-
I've probably done things you don't want to know about, so leave me the F alone. How about it? Yeah? All
Basically.
right, cool. Awesome. Yeah, I'm all for it. I'm all for it. Speaking of that, I saw this great meme, sidebar. I saw this great meme. It says, "Veterans don't wear hats so we can announce ourselves to the regular everyday civilians. We wear them so we can identify each other and get closer," and all that stuff. It's like, true. Absolutely true. Absolutely true. Yeah, I do. I do scare them. Excellent.
Nice.
Excellent. Intent continues to be imperative for business success today. Carlos Ghosn, CEO and chairman of Nissan and Renault, is widely credited for leading a dramatic turnaround. Ghosn articulated his intent to return a near bankrupt Nissan to profitability in 1999 and achieve that within a year. Since then, he has transformed Nissan into one of the world's most profitable companies. I had the good fortune of talking with Ghosn recently and found that he continues to forge ahead on the strength of bold intent. Despite the volatile world economy and the damage to the company's plants caused by a recent earthquake to Japan. Now, mind you, this article came out in 2018, or 2013, so this is a while ago. He has committed to an ambitious plan to boost Nissan's global market share and profits to 8% by 2016. The lesson is clear. Any CEO or leader who wants to propel a business forward must be certain and communicate that the intent is unambiguous. That's applicable at any stage of a business's life, be it startup, growth, transformation, reinvention, or globalization. Indeed, that's often the first step to success. Don't you think so? So, yeah, I mean, like I said, and that kind of goes over, a good portion of what I was kind of thinking about the subject. It's like, you kind of have to have these. Sometimes intent could be viewed as pipe dreams. Like, I'm going to return this company to profitability. And they're like, whatever, dude, you must be, hitting on that good. But then he turns around and doesn't. It's just like, okay, color me impressed, because holy crap, I didn't expect that coming. So, yikes. Now, do you have anything you want to add to that, Alma?
Well, I mean, not necessarily. I don't know. I think, especially in the workplace, like your intent definitely has to be solid on kind of, well, I would say pretty much taking any action. Just because of, I would say, like, the important, like, you have to put it through the lens of what is it that's going to make it important, or what is it that is going to make what you're doing important to the employees. Because if you can't get them backing up the intent, you're not going to get anything done. Does that make sense?
Okay. Yeah, no,
and I see that so a lot in the private sector. Like,
yeah, and I think one of the
you know what I
problems
mean?
you have with yeah, I do. I think one of the problems that you run into in the private sector, at least for me, is that you can use all intent can be kind of this grandiose idea. It's kind of like it's kind of like an inverted cactus. Like, there might be sweet stuff on the outside. Remember, inverted cactus, so inside out. Bear with me here. I'm going somewhere with this. There might be something really good on the outside where it's like, oh, it's sweet and awesome and great. And you go to the inside and it's just prickly spears. You're just like, you're just going to jab into your ass. And it's just like, ugh. So, and, I think all companies start off being good, but then these people are like, oh, it's just business. And they get into that whole argument of like, really? Are we stooping to that tired, sorry ass rhetoric of, oh, it's just business? Can we not just be decent? Can we have the intent of being decent human beings? How about it? That would be great. So that's actually a fantastic segue because now I wanted to kind of go and oh, I saw that pop up. I was like, oh,
J-
Withers said, just like my ex-wives, like Withers with the fire, man. Love it. Good old War Daddy, part of the show, War Daddy. We appreciate you. So, kind of flipping the script a little bit, if you
Oh
talk
my
about
god.
intent, there's also the negative connotation that goes along with that. As there's a very popular and
Yeah.
well-known quote that says, "The road to hell is paved with good intentions." So, yes, it can mean that you're trying to do everything, but at the same time, you're trying to do everything good and right and decent and upstanding. But that can also cause you to kind of like go the path of the opposite way, darkness, negativity, whatever you want to call it. So, this article that we pulled up is from
Join the
these are both.
dark side of the force. Sorry. It
I
came out.
had my screen on another tab and I heard that. I'm like, when did you click to a thing of the Emperor? Like, what the hell is going on here? We are off the rails tonight, folks. I didn't know that was you talking. I was like, Jesus. I thought you had a clip going on YouTube. Like, what'd you turn on YouTube, man? What the shit? So, anyway, so this article is also from 2013. This is from psychologytoday.com. This is called When Good Intentions Go Bad. Crafting effective messages. So the article starts like this. Vicky, a recent college graduate, secured a coveted position at a prestigious chemical company. She completed each assigned task with passion and fervor. She kept up with new developments in the field and always sought new and more cost-effective techniques to manufacture chemicals. One day, Vicky discovered an innovative method to reduce the cost of manufacturing a certain chemical. She went to her manager to report her discovery. Quote, "You've been doing this all wrong. I found a new and cheaper way to manufacture the chemical." Much to her dismay, her manager dismissed her findings outright and admonished her to concentrate on her assigned work. Crushed, Vicky returned to her cubicle and vowed never to take the initiative again. Vicky's intentions were good, but the manner in which she communicated her idea was not well thought out. Communication is more than conveying ideas, just as innovation is more than the bottom line. Vicky failed to consider some basic psychological concepts of effective communication. Good communicators not only wordsmith, but they also incorporate psychological components into their communications. And the more and more I read these articles that we find from Psychology Today, it's like the more I think I want to like take a course or something like that when I do take college courses, because you get into so much stuff with psychology, man. It's insane. Like I see why so many people get into law enforcement, take psychology, and get their degrees in psychology because it really gives you a lot of insight into how people feel or think and do all that kind of stuff. Anyway, people rarely consider the push-pull qualities of declarations such as "I'm right" or "My way is better." If you are right, then the other person is automatically assumed to be wrong. If your way is better, then the other person's way is automatically assumed to be wrong. Then I'm right, you're wrong paradigm forces people to assume a defensive posture to protect their egos, reputations, or for myriad other reasons. A person who takes a defensive posture is less likely to consider new ideas. Vicky used the pronouns you and I. The use of the pronouns you and I creates an adversarial environment. The you and I paradigm pits one person against another person. In Vicky's case, she unintentionally created an oppositional atmosphere between her and her boss. Adversarial settings create winners and losers. Winners conquer, losers compromise. Adversarial relationships ignite competition, which is not conducive to effective communication. Cognitive dissonance triggers when a person holds two or more conflicting beliefs. When people experience cognitive dissonance, they become frustrated, angry, and experience psychological disequilibrium. In Vicky's situation, she unintentionally created cognitive dissonance in her manager. If Vicky is right, then her manager is wrong. If Vicky is right, then she is smart and her manager is not smart. People experiencing cognitive dissonance have several options to regain equilibrium. In Vicky's case, her manager couldn't admit that she is right and that he is wrong. He could try to convince Vicky that his method is correct and that her method is not correct. Or he could outright dismiss Vicky as an immature, well-meaning employee who needs to be put in her place. Wow, that just described a bunch of experiences I had in the military. Vicky's manager chose the latter option to resolve his dissonance. Intentionally or unintentionally inducing cognitive dissonance rarely produces a positive outcome. People are egocentric. They think the world revolves around them. I think and obviously I'm not a psychologist. I can just tell you from my experience as a behavior therapist for the last 7 going on 8 years and my life experience in real life. I think that is true, but also it's a sliding scale of how much it revolves around them. Some people, yes. Other people that may have narcissistic tendencies, probably a whole lot more. Yeah, just saying. So, Vicky demonstrated her self-focus when she used the pronouns I and you. She elevated herself above her manager, thus unintentionally attacking his ego. Her manager's thought process is predictable. I've been a manager for 15 years. Who does this inexperienced, snot-nosed college graduate think she is? Get some experience under your belt before prancing into my office and tell me I've been doing things wrong for 15 years. Go back to your cubicle and do as you're told. In this instance, the manager's ego trumped common sense and the all-important bottom line. Egos have hurt more people and have torpedoed more good ideas than there are stars in the sky. Instead of saying, you've been doing this all wrong, I found a new and cheaper way to manufacture the chemical. Vicky should have integrated some psychological concepts into her communication. The following illustrates a more effective message. Sir, I would like your advice on something that would make our company more profitable. Addressing her manager as sir shows respect and demonstrates that Vicky sees her manager as superior. The introductory phase, I would like your advice on something, accomplishes 5 objectives. First, Vicky creates an inclusionary environment. The manager feels as though he is included in the process. Second, cognitive dissonance is avoided, thus increasing the probability that the manager will be open to new ideas. Third, the manager's illusion of self-focus is bolstered. The manager will likely think, of course, Vicky is seeking my advice because I'm intelligent and I have 15 years of experience. Fourth, the introductory phase could foster a mentor-mentee relationship. If a mentor-mentee relationship is established, then Vicky's success also becomes her manager's success. All good points so far. Fifth, showing the manager respect and acknowledging his expertise makes him feel good about himself. The golden rule of friendship is, if you make other people feel good about themselves, they will like you. People who like you are more likely to be open to your suggestions. The use of words, our company, signals that Vicky has emotional equity in the company and is a team player. The phrase, make our company more profitable, is very appealing, especially if the manager receives credit for an increased bottom line. When the manager gives his advice, he takes partial ownership of the idea and proposed project. When people feel as though they are part owners of a good idea or project, they enthusiastically advance the idea or project. Now, the only thing I would kind of have, and this is just a sidebar that I was just, as I was reading this, the only thing that makes me kind of go, to that part of the argument, or that part of the article, is when they said the younger person addressing the supervisor as sir. That also depends on where you're from. I've seen 2 grown men get upset over the word sir. One guy was from the south, the other guy was from up north. They don't say it up there, we say it down here, and they kind of had a little bit of like a little hissy fit, when they were talking to each other. And it was just like, really? It was kind of interesting to watch, but at the same time, just like, it's 3 letters. You're giving somebody some respect. It's just
also kind of expected, because you think of it as a way of showing respect, like acknowledging, like, hey, I acknowledge, this is what this is who you are. You're up there.
Yes, actually, Withers, the guy was from New York. No shit. He was a New Yorker by far. and the other guy was a Florida boy through and through. So Alamo,
Caught me off guard with
so
that.
quick. So how did that change? Was it a big culture shock for you being from New York and then moving down here and like everybody says yes or no, sir? Was that was it a big deal? I mean, especially since you were kind of going into the military, thinking about going to the military anyway, you kind of got used to it, or what was the dynamic behind that? I'm curious.
I did start to get used to it, but at the same time, I would say that it was still because you got to remember one thing. I moved from New York to South Carolina, then from South Carolina back to New York for a little bit, then to Puerto Rico, then from Puerto Rico back to New York for a little bit, and then back down here where we ended up staying. And
talk about them frequent flyer miles, Jesus.
Yeah, I know. And it seemed to me like, you know, it was very because even though I had moved to these different places, the New York attitude very much kind of stuck with me for, I would say, a good couple years, even after we moved to Florida.
I think
But
that's
knowing
kind of interesting too. You have like this geographical identity or persona, and it like you see a lot of it's one of those things, man. Like you see it so often, especially with like folks. Dude, there's a bunch of people that are transplants from New York down to Florida. Like they live in Tampa, they live in Miami, they live in Orlando, and it's like it's kind of like, and I don't mean to say this as disrespect, but it's kind of like this cocky swagger that you carry about you. Like even when I was in basic training, guys like, "Where you from?" "I'm from the Bronx." "Where you from?" "Brooklyn." And it's like, okay, we're from the city, but it's like we don't hate each other. We might, get along because we're both from the city, from New York. But at the same time, it's like, yeah, it's like, all right, raise respect all
Yeah.
information out.
And and that's the thing is like,
right.
Oh,
amen to that.
Yeah. Damn. Yeah. And see, that was one thing is like I kind of agree. I kind of agree with Withers in that aspect. Like I didn't see a lot of that when I was growing up. Your elders were very, I'm not going to say they were disrespected, but they definitely weren't addressed as one would think of addressing your elders. And that was one thing I had to kind of push into myself and kind of groom into myself as I was growing up, because I had to think about the fact that, okay, this isn't, not everybody is going to look at you and think like, oh, what the hell's the deal with this guy? Like in New York, you really had to watch everything. And growing up, it was, get hard or get jacked up. You know what I mean? And, granted, I'm sure that there was a lot of, aspects of that kind of stuff down here, but I didn't grow up in it down here, but it was definitely like that up in New York. So you had to kind of have a more tough persona, like a tougher skin, like a tougher hide, because if not, at all times you were always guarded. You know what I mean? There was no letting anybody in at all.
Your guard was up 24/7.
Correctamundo.
Okay. I was just curious about that because first I know of a few people that have lived in both places, and it just seems like from my observations of people that kind of that vibe of growing up in the city just doesn't ever really go away. It's always there, maybe not as much as it used to be, but it's kind of like ingrained in your personality. It's been like, chiseled into your core beliefs of who you are and everything else. So thank you for that, for indulging us with that for a minute there, much. I appreciate it. So back to the article. So we're moving down here. So we're going to last a little bit here. So the downside to this approach is that Vicky must share the glory pie with her manager. At first glance, she is not palatable. Vicky is likely thinking that idea was hers and hers alone. She should get all the credits. People seldom take into account that the primary ingredient of a glory pie is goodwill. Glory has a short expiration date. Good has a long shelf life. Besides, everyone in the office knows that it was Vicky's idea, even if it is not openly stated. A good idea produces a large glory pie that can be cut into many pieces. Freshly distributing these pieces increases likability and the likelihood of future success. So again, I know that's kind of more of the business side of things, but at the same time, going back into intent, it's like, it's Withers just said no one in, period. And I think, there's a lot. So let me kind of go on that direction for a minute. That there's a lot to be said, like when you're starting off in like at basic training or like in a new unit, especially like when you have everybody, coming from all parts of the country. You had guys from small town Montana, Boise, Idaho, different boroughs within the city of New York. You have people from Miami, all over the place. And you just kind of like end up associating with guys that have similar backgrounds, like Florida guys kind of hung with Florida guys. There's a bunch of us in my company that were going to be going into the Florida Guard. So we all kind of palled around and hung out together, so to speak. We knew who each other was. And we ended up, I served and I deployed with a bunch of those guys. My buddy Danny, my pal Costa, Meaty, Jones.
Was Meaty short or a nickname for something?
That's his last name, Midi. He's Haitian.
I stand by my statement.
No. I'm going to not go down that road because he's a good, honorable person, and you need to shut the hell up. Anyway, so, but yeah, I mean, like we kind of got to know each other, and we ended up knowing each other when we got back to our unit, because by the time we got back, our battalion was already deployed to Iraq in 2003. So, Jesus Christ, that was 21 years ago. Oh my God.
It's crazy, right?
We're so old. Yeah, Meaty was up for honor graduate out of our entire company. He was our platoon representative for honor grad. Just good, solid dude. He's got a twin brother too. I was like, saw him the first time. I was like, oh shit, that's awesome. So, and he's an officer now. He's a captain. He's a medical services branch officer. I believe he's a captain.
Nice.
But yeah. So like, I totally get kind of that mentality and stuff. Especially like when you're around other people, you just kind of. There's like a little bit of safety in numbers, so to speak, but you just kind of keeping your guard up and whatnot. All the guys, and even with us, and it was kind of more so even with us, like in the guys that were all going to National Guard versus the guys, all the guys that were in our platoon, a lot of the guys that were going active duty had Ranger contracts. They're going to Airborne Rangers. So all these guys were like, big bad, just kind of like in the stereotype.
All right, they're sly,
like meatheads, like just complete. I don't know if he's a doctor. He's medical services. I don't know if he does something. I'm not sure what it is. War Daddy. I'd have to honestly look and talk to him. I haven't talked to him forever, but anyway, but yeah, it's like all these guys that had like Ranger contracts just thought us National Guard dudes were like just excrement under their boots. Like, you guys are gonna fill these sandbags. Like we're gonna be deployed before you. You're gonna still be in freaking the pipeline before you ever go down range. So like, shut the hell up. Like, don't be a dickhead. So, but yeah. So when it goes back to intent, like I just feel like there's a lot of younger kids these days that just don't have an idea. Like they have some lofty ideas. I'm gonna get rich by being a freaking an online gamer. I'm gonna do Twitch and all that stuff. Listen, that's all great and everything. But
I'm gonna be a guru.
That I'm gonna be an influencer. Like that's all great and fine and dandy, but like have a plan. Like
And
Do something besides
you're
the bare
touching on
minimum,
that, and I could. That's one of those things that when there's a lack of intent, like you have a lack of
Oh
it,
boy.
it kind of feeds into that lack of direction.
Read
And when you
Withers'
have
last
a
comment.
lack of direct, huh?
Read his last comment.
You need to call in line.
Need a call in line. That might get us canceled. It would be awesome for a few
It
minutes,
might.
and it was like
Yeah,
that might get us canceled. It's like, argh. I mean, that definitely get that little
but
block with the little beeper. Beep 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 beep.
yep.
The
But
sensor beeping.
and you think it kind of feeds into that lack of direction though thing, like I was saying, because what you see is like it's like a crisis of self for so many of the kids in this younger generation. What are they doing? They're going to school. Why are they going to school? Well, they don't know. They're getting degrees in liberal arts and
Or if they
stupid
do go to
crap
school,
like
they have some really I guess they would have some really skewed ideas compared
pottery
to
or
folks like you and myself. They're like, oh, I'm going to go get a degree in college with the intent of knowing that
correct.
my debt will be wiped clean like a friggin' booger off of a kid's nose at a park, like it never happened. It's like
Yeah.
like I said, bad intent. Like you have the intent, and like we could go into this in a lot of different ways. It's like one of my biggest things is like when you have the intent of being just a shitty human being and you're trying to freaking be deceitful, you're trying to work an angle, you're trying to put up some kind of
Yep.
facade with something like you hear stories about people that go out and like they get catfish or this or that or the other, and it's just like like people having intent to deceive and try to what's the word I'm looking for? Exploiting others. That's it. To be the intent of exploitation of others. That kind
Yeah.
of shit pisses me the fuck off. Like seriously, like I'm gonna find you and just choke you out. Like
Yeah.
I can't stand that stuff. That's why intent is such a double-edged sword. You have good people that have the intent, like you got people that go out there and they do good. Like you have the people like first responders, firemen, police officers, sheriff's deputies, whatever the case may be, paramedics. They have the intent of going out and serving their community. They want to. I think that's a lot of kids to a certain respect nowadays. And I'm not trying to say anything
Yeah.
bad about anybody, but it's like, like my daughter. So Withers just said in the quote, he said, "My own children do not have an intent." And it's like my daughter, she's just going back and forth. Now mind you, my daughter's going to be 10 here on the 23rd.
Yeah.
It's like, what do you want to do? I want to be a vet. Well, that's like a bunch of years of extra school. I'll be a vet tech. Okay, well, then
No
now
direction.
you're not really going and running the show. You're supporting, but then you're the one that has to clean up all the crap off the operating table and sterilize instruments and do all
Yeah.
the grunt work a little bit. So I think I'm gonna go be like a game warden. Okay, you're gonna get sprayed in the face with mace and tasered and all that stuff. Okay, I'm just gonna get back to you, Daddy. Yep. Okay.
Yeah. I think
there's nothing wrong with that. She's 10. She doesn't know yet. I mean, she's gonna be 10.
Yeah.
She's still got. I keep bumping my desk. She's still got a ways to go to figure things out, and that's fine. Even like when people go to college, they say it is not uncommon for college students to change their major a couple of different times while they're in college. I would say it's probably not too often that somebody has,
Yeah.
that has their own little OBJ in mind, and they say, all right, I'm going to march straight towards it and not taking no prisoners or nothing. And they do that. A lot of people, they figure they do one thing and they're like, yeah, I don't like this as much. They switch. I don't like this. And they switch. And that's fine. That's where you figure stuff out. And then even then, how many people still use their damn degree in the field that they went to school for? Not too often. Our good friend Amelia, she has a degree in accounting and she runs an insurance office. Now, I would argue strenuously that that's a good fit because of the fact that you're still doing business type math and all that kind of stuff. Accounting is very much going to come into play there.
Yep.
So it's not that far of a stretch. But I mean, the intent, like Wither said, the trophy. It's like, the intent is to go to school, just get that little magic piece of paper so somebody will hire you. And then even then, you get these folks on social media that are like, oh, freaking, I got a 4-year degree and they still won't give me a job because this guy went out in the field and he's got a lot more years experience in the workforce and I've got a college degree and a master's and an MBA. I'm like, okay, great. You still haven't done anything in the work sector, so you're sitting on the
You know what I
bench.
think a large part of it comes down to, though? I think a
What's up?
large part of it comes down to I mean, don't get me wrong, and if there's anybody that has friends that are teachers or that are teachers themselves, like, look, God bless you guys for having our
Being
kids
rock
8 hours a
stars in
day
an
and kind of
ungrateful world.
push into them, but there's also a lot of teachers that just, for lack of better terminology, they really just kind of
Just to
sap
get by.
the lifeblood out of the kids at a certain point. And they kind of take a kid's will to, like, imagine what they could be, so that they know like, it's kind of like you're taking away the imagination of the kids so that they can actually really brainstorm and kind of get to that point where they know exactly where they want to go. And there's teachers that are great at that, and they're, oh, thanks, Withers. There's teachers, there's teachers that are great at that, and then there's teachers that are just terrible at it. And I mean, I hate to, I'm going to call you guys out on it. It is what it is. Some teachers, like I said, are great. Some teachers are not so great at it, and it takes away from the younger kids being able to have an intentional thought process on, where am I going? What am I doing? How am I going to get there?
Yeah, a lot of these kids aren't going to school to learn how to be free thinkers. They're learning to they go to school to learn how to recite facts and
Right.
statistics and stuff. They don't really learn free thinking. That's why they have that new school down here, the Patel High School, where it's all like kind of like a lot of the projects you do throughout high school are all team based, kind of prepping you for that adult workplace environment where you actually might be working on a
Right.
production team for different projects in corporate America and whatnot. So it's like, that's kind of awesome because it's like, that's, putting some stuff. I have nieces who are teachers and they are fighting the agenda, right? Especially when you have like, and again, this is get way down to the rabbit hole, but especially when you have teachers that are like, you got some teachers that are like, with any profession, and this is anybody, anywhere, you have guys that are just there just to get a paycheck and get just high enough to where they don't have to be at the bottom rung doing the stuff they used to bitch about. Now they're making other
Yeah.
guys do it. Like, you have cops that don't like guns. Oh, I only got a cop. I only became a cop just so I could boss other people around. Like in the movie Harold and Kumar, go to White Castle. You got that very stereotypical cop with a big cheesy cop mustache. Yeah, bust your ass. What kind of name is Kumar anyway? And he's just there, and
Sadly, I
it's
thought
like
you were
just
going
a
to talk
stare.
about the, trimming the bush and making your Johnson looking bigger. Yeah.
No, I was going somewhere. You can think all the pervertedness. Like, no, I'm not even going to entertain that with a laugh. You asshat. But yeah, I mean, that stereotype exists for a reason. It's like, yeah, I'm like, okay, but you have, it's just like, you have people like in the military that have the intent to get in there and have a good job, and they're just terrible at it. They're BS artists. They're always doing other things, and these
Yeah.
are the guys that ended up and going up being E8s and E9s and stuff. And you're just like, did nobody love you as a child there, first sergeant, master sergeant, sergeant major?
Exactly.
Like, is it Corvette? I don't know.
Who has a Corvette?
I don't know. They'll tell us in a minute. But yeah, and it's just like, I just wish, people used intent in more of the positive light. Like my daughter, I look at her every day, and I'm not trying to dote on my daughter so much, but like she is just she has every intent of just being. I firmly believe down to the fiber of my being that she has the intent of just being a good, nice person. And it's just like, oh, I love that so much about you. Um, some of them do. I'm sure some of them do. But I also worry the fact that because she is so nice, she is going to get walk on. So my intent as a parent is to kind of toughen her up a little bit with maybe
Yeah.
a little bit more of that big city swagger and that thicker hide, so that she doesn't get stomped on and rolled on and stuff. So,
Yeah.
but yeah. So
You know,
anything else?
and
Oh, go ahead, Elma. Whatever you're gonna say. Sorry.
well, no, I was gonna say, I think as parents, we've got to kind of cultivate that imaginative thinking in our kids ourselves, um, because we have an education. I don't like saying it because I don't like sounding like an ass, but
Oh, but you're so
I'm
good
going to
at it.
come out and say it. We have an education system that's failing our kids. Um, like I said,
Whoa. Let's stay with
there
here,
are
buddy.
there are great teachers. There are great teachers. There are plenty of great teachers. But school has been turned into an 8-hour soul-sucking just verbal vomit fest. There is no
Verbal
intent.
vomit fest.
Correct.
I am
There is
down with
no
that.
there there is no intent in going into these buildings, these establishments, and teaching kids the factual information that they need to be able to progress in their lives so that they have it's kind of like, you know, oh, thanks, Withers. The, the you look at the way schools have been established now, and it's very opinionated. It's very, this is what I think happened. This is, and instead of giving the kids the tools that they need so that they can be better decision makers, it's become a ideological freaking
Dumpster
uh
fire.
like manufacturer's warehouse. It's that's pretty much what it is. Um Personally, if it were up to me, I would, in all honesty, freaking, you know, for yeah, for the money. For I would honestly, yeah, that too. The like, it's basically, it's a very uh, ideological. Yes. And instead of giving kids, like I said, the tools that they need to be able to be free thinkers in order to learn how to problem solve on their own, in order to learn how to think for themselves so that they know they have more of an idea of where they're going later in life, that ability to have the good decision making has been taken away from them. Completely taken away
So
from them.
I'm going to add on to your conversation by bringing up 2 points. So first off, I wholeheartedly agree with what you're saying. The Bruce Burnhams of our generation are slowly going to the waterside and just drifting off into nowhere. There is a guy
They are
that you
going
remember.
bye-bye.
Do you remember a guy that we went to school with named Tyler Orr? Dr. Orr was his dad, the assistant principal. Tyler
Yes.
Orr was a year behind me. Okay. So his sister Aubrey became a teacher for Hillsborough County. And there is I was poking around somewhere and I ran across a clip of her speaking in front of the school board. And she got up there and was
Yeah.
pissed because she goes, I am and she basically, and I'm paraphrasing here, she's like, I am a product of Hillsborough County school system. My dad was a principal. So when Dr. Orr left Armwood, he ended up going and becoming the principal at Hillsborough High School in Tampa, which is where my older brother went before he retired.
Yeah.
Mrs. Orr was a substitute teacher at our school for years and years and years and years. So Aubrey became a teacher as well, and she got up there and she's like, Dad was a principal, Grandma was this, Mom was a substitute teacher. I also became a teacher, and basically the system is failing because we're not getting pay raises. I'm a very effective teacher. I went and got my master's, and it just doesn't mean a damn thing anymore. So from what I ended up finding out is that she ended up leaving, and just either she went off and does private stuff or she went for another county. I'm not 100% certain. It's not my place to know, but it's just you have somebody who takes what they do and is extremely passionate and throws himself in. And you can just tell by the way she's talking how much of a passionate teacher she is, or in this case was. And all that's just got wasted because you have the bureaucratic people and the ideological differences and all that crap. So the Bruce Burnhams of our time are going away. And if anybody doesn't know, Bruce Burnham was a history teacher that was at Armwood for years. He was there for almost like 30 years or something. Mr. B, and was a Vietnam veteran, just an amazing teacher. And he was one of those guys like, I give you enough information so you can figure out and inform your own decisions and opinions about certain historical topics. The only time
he gave you the information and he allowed you to kind of decide like, you could either go this way or you could go that way.
Not only that, but when he said the one time I will not give you both sides and I will only give you my side of it because I'm very opinionated is when I talk about my experiences in Vietnam. So like even when he didn't, he's still giving you the heads up like this is why I went there. It was an effed up situation. The Viet Cong were freaking just evil fucking people and all this other crazy shit. So like he at least told you like this is why I'm slanted, so don't hold it against me. But also to kind of double tap on that caliber of people, you could also tie and rope into that same group of people old school newscasters like, Walter Cronkite and all these other guys that were like used to just tell the news as it was. Now, depending on your affiliation of political leaning or what your level of, toe the line is to whatever respective political party, you're going to watch ABC or brand A, B, or C, not ABC, the news station, but you're going to watch brand ABC, XYZ, depending on what you do, because that way they align with what your beliefs, their beliefs are either here or they're kind of a little bit frayed a little bit, but they're close enough to where you're like, yeah, that's right, preach it. And then people watching...
It's pretty damn sad, dude, when you have to have it's pretty damn sad, dude, when you have to have apps that literally give you a list of all the news agencies and their biases and which way they lean. It's sad, dude. Absolutely
purpose
sad.
Of education is take an empty one with an open mind. That's what he's... Yeah, no kidding.
Yeah.
Oh, so that part. So the second fact, I saw an article this week. I think this is out in California, right? And let me prepare myself. They have changed the sliding scale for grades. If you have an 84 percentage in your class, you are now an A student. If you have a 64 to 83, you are a B student. You can have a 24, you can have a 25%, and you're only a D student. And some guy was like, well, hell, if that's the case, I'm going to go back and I'm going to identify as an A student in the Victorian. Right? But this guy was sitting there and he's like, if that's the damn case, I'm going to go back and identify as an A student in the valedictorian in my class. I'm like, beat them with their own logic. Woo! Yeah. Absolutely. Put the horse shit to him. It's fucking great. So I was just like, it's just ridiculous. It's one damn thing after another. And it's just like, like what is our intent anymore? Our intent, like, I'll tell you right now, and Alamo, I haven't told him this, but like, I'm going to just shoot from the hip right now and go off the cuff. I can tell you that as Battle Bros podcast, our intent is to uplift and freaking help to unite the veteran community and first responders and everybody else. Yes, that's true. That's absolutely true.
Oh God.
So good.
War Daddy Withers at it again with the commentary.
I can tell you that our intent is to help to pay homage and honor to a friend of ours that we lost. That
Right.
our intent is also to bring the veteran community together and uplift them, because these are folks that have given almost everything up to and including their lives in defense of this great nation. And some people are like, well, it used to be great. Shut your mouth. It's a great nation, because why would so many people want to come here at a chance to better themselves in their life and their opportunities? So shut it. Okay. But, our intent is also just to say, hey, we don't want to make, the statistic of 22 a day keep it going. We want to break that statistic down so it's no longer consistent. We want to make sure that we want to abolish it and, eradicate it. So, but, like I said, you can go a lot of different ways. Now, that's kind of our chit chat on intent this week, and why it's important to think about what it is, what you want to do with it, how you're going to use your intent.
Correct.
You can have lofty goals, but if you have a plan to access them, it's not daydreaming. It's a plan of action. It's a plan of execution. You're making a battle plan and stick to it and go for it. So
yeah.
On that note, we're gonna start. Oh, go ahead.
Oh no, I was gonna say, and I mean on that same note with Mac on that, man, like my intent with this with Battle Bros is like I want to touch hearts and minds, man. Like hell yeah, like look, like boys and gals, and yes, I said boys and gals because that's what we are, man. We got to watch out for each other as the veteran community. That even rolls in law enforcement and fire and all. You like, we got to watch out for each other. We have to communicate with each other. Why did World War I and World War II veterans do it so much better than us? Why did they do it so much better than us? We are more interconnected than we have ever been in American freaking or world history. How have they done it better than us?
Simple answer: they didn't have the internet.
Yeah, or I've lost. Damn.
They have this nowadays. Even though we have disconnectivity, it's stupid. So, but yeah, you're right, and that's something that we're going to discuss in a later episode. So, but anyway, Alamo's right. How did they do it so well? They, just the older generation are just tougher. We're a bunch of powder puffs. So, and I'm including myself because those guys are tough. It's like this guy. I was in my old battalion. He was in the 82nd for All American Day when he was on active duty. And this old timer comes up to him and goes, he talked like he was out of the 40s and 50s. How many jumps you got there, paratrooper? I got 62, sir. 62, huh? That's a lot of damn jumps. Well, I've got 5, and mine all meant something, which meant he had all 5 combat jumps. Sicily, Normandy, Holland, and then plus 1 in Korea. So it's like, damn, that guy's got brass balls. So yeah, older generation is just tougher. So deal with it. If you're not an older generation, you're just powder puff to deal with it. So anyway, we're gonna wrap up our show. Thanks for joining us for our conversation on intent. Hopefully you learned something. Hopefully we just kind of got the thought process going of like, hey, let's talk about this. What am I trying to do with my life? What am I gonna do? Intent is a very mysterious and wondrous thing if you use it properly. It can also be a really shitty thing if you're using it for the axis of evil kind of thing. So
think about it very hard, boys and gals. It could save
all of the people out there,
yours or other lives.
Absolutely. So when we were first conceiving the idea of this podcast, we had our good friend John, who we were lost touch with, and we were going to get in touch with him. And then we found out that John had unfortunately committed suicide. And as we call it, he solved a temporary problem with a permanent solution. Love you too, War Daddy. Woo-woo.
Yeah, buddy.
So, I don't know why I just threw a gang. I threw a gang sign up there, like War Daddy. Whenever we get shirts, we got to send him. We got. Whenever we get shirts made up, we got to send War Daddy a shirt so we can rock that shit. So anyway, we were we were discussing how we would get this thing off the ground, and Alamo brought up a podcast. I'm like, I don't know shit about podcasts. He goes, dude, they sent a monkey to space. I'm like, yeah, they sure did, didn't they? So I didn't feel so bad about doing a podcast anymore. And then we found out about John, unfortunately taking his own life. And for me, that was like the big aha moment. I was like, dude, I'm in. Let's do this. So we kind of started talking about what we wanted to do and how we wanted to do it and conceptualizing the podcast. And, we kind of came up with the idea for the name Battle Bros. And we also came up with the Bros Code. And what the Bros Code is 4 easy tenets to remember when things get tough, when the road gets a little bit bumpy and rugged, and you got a flat tire on a freaking canyon road in the middle of nowhere. Things you can remember to just keep yourself pushing forward through the foe, through the objective, to triumph over evil. And if you caught that reference, then you're pretty damn awesome. I bet you have one of these thingies. So, hello, you just got it. There it is. All right. So if you can remember the letters BROS, the 4 letters of Bros, it's easy to remember. We like to keep it simple, stupid around here. So be tenacious. No matter what you do in life, do it to the utmost of your ability. Like that article said earlier, I believe it was the second one. Passion and fervor. That's the kind of tenacity you want to have. Whether it's being a parent, have the intent of raising your kids and making them individuals prepared for the world ahead of them. Don't just have them be like, all right, cool, you're on your own, you're out of my house, bye.
Forge your kids like steel.
Ooh, that's good. You should write that down. I like that one.
I know.
No matter what it is you choose to do, and I like it. Yeah, your wife could use that for flip side. It's dope. We'll talk about that offline. Anyway, no matter what you do in life, whatever that choice is, whether if you want to be a gamer or whether you want to be a freaking iron worker or if you want to be somebody in the trades or an educator, do it to the utmost and fullest of your ability. Passion, fervor, tenacity, all of that good stuff. As the great Ron Swanson once said, don't half-ass 2 things. Whole ass 1 thing. You can't say it much better than the great Ron Swanson. So we're going to leave that alone. R, refuse to surrender. There are going to be times in life when you might get a little sidetracked from the route to the objective, hitting that X, hitting the OBJ. And that's fine. There's plenty of things that happen. I just finished paying off my car this year, and then I struck a damn deer going down the highway, and, I thought for a half a second I wrecked it. It happens, but I didn't get discouraged. I started, making plans, all stuff. Luckily, fortunately, thank goodness, it was able to get fixed and whatnot. So it's like, cool, I got my car back, all that good stuff. But just refuse to, don't let things get you down. Things happen. It's called life for a reason. It's not predictable. You can't plan it. You ever want to make God laugh, tell him your plans. There's a lot of truth to that statement, okay? Refuse to surrender.
It'll be. Watch
What's
this.
Up? Absolutely. Obliterate your obstacles. As it kind of goes hand in hand with the last one. When those obstacles come up, man, don't be afraid to circumvent them, to navigate around them, whether it's going into the wood line, do 50 yards in, 50 yards down the road, 50 yards out, continue the MSR going to the objective. Whatever you have to do. All right. Don't be afraid to, get a little muddy, get a little swampy, get a little dirty. Sometimes if there's a wall, you got to go over the wall. You have to scale under the wall, dig under the wall, go swimming in the moat with alligators in it. Okay, cool. It's going to suck, but you're going to get it done. Whatever. Sometimes you got to breach the door by using some C4s and Bangalores, Mikulix, whatever the case may be. Sometimes you got to back an armored vehicle into it. If you haven't heard that story, go find it. Tell them. It's great. It's funny. And then S, most importantly, seek out help in a time of need. In the case of John may have had a few demons, and unfortunately, they got the better of him, and he chose to take the action that he took. And that's terrible because he's a guy that deserves to be here. If you knew John, you knew how funny he was to be around. We were just talking about how we used to just go, I got an itch on my back, and doing the whole. He was the king of the butthole game, man. Oh my God. He got me so good one time with that. Just Jesus. He was a ninja. He He was a ninja with one of those, man. But yeah, if you ever feel like you don't have anybody you can talk to, know that there are resources out there. If you don't have somebody like a service member that you were in the military with, a coworker, somebody that at your work that you can trust as like a confidant or whatnot, know that there are resources out there. If you ever feel like you're heading down a dark path to where you're like, I need to find a way out, and a way out being, to take your own life, stop what you're doing, halt in place, and reach out to the National Suicide Prevention Hotline. Their telephone number is 1-800-273-8255. Again, 1-800-273-8255. Or you can hit the last four numbers as TALK, TALK. You can also dial the 3-digit number 988. Again, that's 988. And you can also text that number as well. That came up as of, I think, June of last year. I might have been out of Utah a couple years ago when that happened. Actually, 2 years ago. You can call or text 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. You are not alone. They have people there you can talk to and whatnot. So don't ever feel like you're going through this alone. Our intent on this show is to stop this from getting worse. That on average is the amount of veterans that choose to take that ultimate decision and to end their life every day. And we need to try to eradicate that altogether. So if you feel like you're going down a bad path, call that number, reach out, talk to somebody. If not, find somebody close to you. Just know that there's somebody out there for everybody. Yep.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. Thanks, Withers. Love you, buddy. So on that note, remember, sorry, I'm all out of sorts here. Be tenacious, refuse to surrender, obliterate your obstacles, seek out help in a time of need. If you can remember those four things, you're going to be okay. So I'm going to hand it off to Alamo. He's going to end the show, and we're going to go from there. So take it away, my dude.
So, boys and gals, if you would like to go ahead and catch us on any of our social medias, and if you would feel like contacting us on those, you could leave comments, all that good stuff there. You could do that on multiple places. You can go to the Facebook, and you can find us on facebook.com/battlebros.podcast. And also on the hearts. You can also find us on Instagram at battlebros_podcast. And you can also find us as well on X, formerly Twitter, now that it's owned by Elon. Hell yes. Please go ahead and message us there at BattleBrosPC. There's instant messaging on each one of those platforms where you can go ahead and message us. We are monitoring every single one of these 24/7. There's not a day that we're not, actually trying to watch out for messages from you guys, trying to wait for you guys to kind of get in contact with us and, say, hey, I got a friend, or hey, I'm having issues, or hey, I got a family member, blah, blah, blah. It's important that we try and, nip this problem in the bud. It's important that we try and, if there is an issue with, any of the freaking service member family that we know is out there, that if they're experiencing issues, we want to nip the problem in the bud before it becomes a permanent issue. If at all you guys feel the need to not kind of make these comments public, we do have a Gmail where you can email us. You can go ahead and email us at battlebrospc@gmail.com. That is, again, battlebrospc@gmail.com, where you can message us privately. And again, me and Mac, we monitor that as well 24/7. We're always here to listen. We're always here to read, comments and things like that. So that way, if there is somebody out there hurting, just know that, whether you're the family member, whatever, there's some hurt for all of us. Every one of us are hurting in our own way. And, the best way to kind of deal with it is to talk about it and deal with it right then and there. the best medicine is to get it out. The best medicine is to talk about it. Even though there's always been that kind of stigma of like, oh, don't talk about your problems here. It's not good for you. No, it's BS. Talk about it. And we're here for it.
I'm not laughing at that example. I'm laughing at the way you said
If
it.
so, so, if you like us on the YouTube, but you feel like you would love to see us more on a different platform, we are also on the Rumble, which actually I caught that our most recent episodes have not been uploading. Go figure. So that's another issue that I got to sort out. But you can find most of our episodes on Rumble as well. Typically, once one episode from us here is uploaded, it uploads automatically onto Rumble. But I'm going to get that issue sorted out as soon as possible to make sure that you guys are seeing us on every single platform you have have possible at your disposal. You can also catch us on pretty much any audio platform that you listen to, whether that's Spotify, iHeartRadio, Amazon, Google, I believe Stitcher, as well as why am I forgetting the other one? Pandora. I think Pandora might actually just be opening up to us, but I got to check that one again.
Nice.
Yeah. So just remember, any audio platform, you can catch us on there, and I will be continuing to be uploading the episodes onto those platforms. Other than that, I am done.
So the last thing I wanted to mention, we actually skipped one thing in our notes. I completely blew over the only news article we had for this week.
Oh, snap.
Yeah, I completely missed it. I was like looking at it, I'm like, oh yeah, crap. So as of Monday, April 8th, the last living recipients of the Medal of Honor from the Korean War conflict passed away. Colonel Ralph Puckett, who was only recently awarded the Medal of Honor. So he was originally given the Distinguished Service Cross, which is the second highest award for gallantry in action. It's very rarely awarded. He originally was awarded the Distinguished Service Cross for his actions on November 25th, 1950, when he was with, I believe, the 8th Ranger Company in Korea. But as of in 2021, in April of 2021, that Distinguished Service Cross was upgraded to a Medal of Honor. He was awarded the Medal of Honor from President Biden during a ceremony.
Son of a gun right here.
Yeah. So this guy goes up on stage, and that's even before he had his
Medal of Honor.
It's not the Medal of Honor there. But he went up on stage using a walker. He was, I think, 90. He passed away. He was 97. So he was like 94 when he had the a citation awarded to him by President Biden. So he got his walker up there, and he just takes it and kind of just puts it off to the side. I think one of the aides tried to give it back to him. He's like, "Get that crap out of here! I don't need this shit. I'm a damn Ranger." So, but that was very. It was very. It's a very good ceremony. If you haven't watched a presentation for the Medal of Honor, it's pretty legit. I mean, it's especially for when you have like other living Medal of Honor recipients there, they get invited back and whatnot. The first living recipient for the Global War on Terror was a guy named Staff Sergeant Sal Giunta from the 173rd Airborne out of Italy. And boy, that was a big deal because the last time it was awarded was for Gary Gordon and Randy Shugart from Somalia back in '93, and was awarded to their families because they were killed in action during that conflict.
Posthumously.
But posthumously, yeah. But Yeah, I mean, so he's pretty much Colonel Puckett was a son of Georgia. He was born in Tifton, and then he died in Columbus. He's also stayed very much involved with the Ranger Regiment. There's a picture of him awarding some guys some decorations for the Ranger Regiment back in 2012. They're still rocking ACUs and the tambourine stuff. But yeah, just an absolute.
There's a
warrior.
reason
He's
they
got a
call it
book
the
that he
Forgotten
put
War.
out. Yeah, he's got a book that he put out that I really want to try to find and read because it looked like it was pretty good.
Yeah, the Korean War has some. The Korean War has some harrowing stories, man. It's. You know what? We got to go in depth on that one at one episode.
Korean conflict.
Heck yeah.
We can do that. Definitely do that. So, but anyway, so that was kind of the one article we want to read. So rest in peace, Colonel Puckett. I mean, you want to talk about a warrior's warrior? That guy.
Rest in peace, sir.
Rest in peace. Absolutely. So, last but not least,
it has been ordered by War Daddy Withers. He said, "Please do." In reference to our doing a Korean War coverage.
Definitely, we can do that. So, anyway, yeah, because it's like what 70th anniversary of that. Oh, cool! He's got a yearbook for the 25th ID when they're in Korea. That's awesome. So, last but not least, we want to give a shout out to our friend Amelia. Amelia has a business on the side where she makes homemade soaps and whatnot, candles, some other things. It is Etsy.com/shop/Heart to Hand Homestead. If you don't check this out, you're wrong. Do push-ups, as Withers would say. Just push. She makes all these great soaps. They're all handmade. They're not expensive. They're like maybe $5-6 a bar. They're fan-freaking-tastic. Just do it. I use the soap, denim and leather scented, and Alamo uses a rum and coffee. They're so good. You can shave with them. I mean, they're nice and supple.
Oh,
it's awesome.
The moisturizers in the soap, I kid you not. It's like you're putting butter on your face as you shave, and it's just like, oh, like I kid you not. Like I'll be itchy. I get that crap in there, and I just kind of scrub it in. I'm just like, oh,
it's not crap.
It's
stuff.
It does not. There's no like. It relieves all that itch, dude. It feels so good.
War Daddy, recover. He said, "I'm pushing," because he hasn't gone to the website. He's like, "Yeah, get up. You're good." Recover. Anyway, yeah. So by all means, if you get a chance, go check out their website. It's Etsy.com/shop/Heart to Hand Homestead. It is worth it. It is fantastic. Please give her some love. She's been a very staunch supporter of our show and has known us for a lot of years. We want to show her some love a little bit too, so check that out. We'd appreciate it. On that note, this has been episode 076 of the Battle Bros podcast. Next week will be episode 077. It's halfway point of season 4. Hard to believe that's already come up already. We are going. Yeah, he's so good. I love it. So good. And if you guys, if everybody's listening at home, like, who is this War Daddy you're talking about? Go back and find our interview with Withers. What episode was that? I forget. That was.
Dude, I forget. Crap. It's been a while.
I'm pulling it up right now. Go check out episode 030. 030 is where we interview Withers, and you're gonna find out how much of a stud he is. He's a good dude. So, on that note, Withers, thanks as always, brother. Love you, buddy. We'll see you soon, man. But yeah, this has been episode 76. We appreciate you guys stopping by. Next week we're gonna have another fun conversation on something. We don't know what it is yet. We do. Maybe we just want to tell you. Maybe you got to tune in. How about them apples? So check us out. Again, remember, as always, be tenacious, refuse to surrender, obliterate your obstacles, seek out help in a time of need, and don't forget to pass along the message and pay it forward by spreading the love. Sometimes it's not about the message that you hear from us. Sometimes it's about you passing it along to somebody that needs to hear the message that we're passing along. So That's a little bit redundant. I know it's Friday night. I'm tired. I'm sorry. But yeah, you know what we're talking about. So we will see you guys
You look
down
exhausted.
the road. All the ladies and gents out there, thanks for stopping by and checking us out, having a look, having a listen, or both, depending on what you're into, that kind of weird stuff. We look forward to seeing you next week. And until then, we love you guys, and we'll see you down the road.
Battle Bros out.
Later.